Welcome to the Life is Good podcast, where we explore the transformative power of healing, delve into real stories of resilience, and uncover the wisdom that lies within all of us. Each episode is a journey towards a life that is truly good, and I am honored to have you with me on this path to self-discovery and growth. I welcome you and I thank you. And without any further ado, for the first ever episode of Life is Good, I am so grateful to be here with a very special human to me, one of my best friends, and also traveling companion and business partner or work buddy, Mr. Andrei Topli.
Yeah, so I like the introduction.
This is a mic check as well, so we might have a few little mistakes, but we go with the flow in this podcast. Why? Because life is good.
Happy to run the first mile with you.
Yeah. Do you feel like you want to share some first words in the beginning?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to get the invitation. Like I said, to run this first mile together during the mic check in the first episode.
Yeah.
Like we say in our profession, to push the first commit.
Yeah, so.
And yeah, let's dive into it.
All right. So this is a podcast about something I'm, I guess, passionate about, but also very into for quite a few years now, which is the topic of healing. That's why it's called Life is Good, a podcast about healing traumas and other shit. Because a lot of that comes up every now and then, quite intense in the last weeks and days. So I'm wondering, how was that for you? Maybe past few days, weeks?
Well, you've been catching me in the middle of a dark night of the soul, so
Perfect.
I guess it's it fits the title of our podcast.
That's perfect.
So yeah, I've been navigating some interesting waters lately.
Yeah.
When it comes to traumas and other shit.
Yeah. Feel you. And the way I want to start this is by going a bit maybe in the past and kind of get a feeling of where has this journey started for you and maybe even why. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. So when it comes to the spiritual journey, I would say that, I guess somehow both our journeys kind of kickstart in the same time. Yours a little bit, you had this tangency with spirituality a little bit earlier than me. But I think like the turning point for both of us was our trip in the Peruvian Amazon, like
True.
the big turning point.
True.
So when we were privileged enough to have two ayahuasca ceremonies, which was kind of a peak beyond the veil, I would say, into what is possible, into what is out there, and sort of an invitation to ask ourselves those deep questions. And for me personally, it kind of took me a little bit by surprise, living in a very organized Christian home, not asking too many questions outside of this dogma. So that kind of, sort of shifted the reality quite a lot. And then the waves that were produced by that kind of were felt for the next 2 years, and it was quite a slow process after that of easily integrating and just reading and discovering, like slowly, beats by beats, upon like what is out there and what am I and what are we and like how I show up in the world. And then I guess the big major step after that was probably like this one again together, the 6 months that we spent in the co-living in Spain.
Yeah.
In Calarg, which, I felt, I can easily say right now, looking back at it, that it's probably the heart center of the mandala of my spiritual evolution. So, like, I felt like everything kind of started making sense there. Like the whole world opened up, and everything else that before was just curiosity or peaks behind the veil, they kind of started making sense and getting clarity on them, and yeah, diving deeper and starting to walk this path in a more conscious way. So I guess this has been, and then afterwards, starting to travel. I mean, obviously, it was the Egypt trip that probably is gonna it's gonna be a podcast in itself, because that was very, very life changing. So yeah, all these initiations like Egypt, and then after that Costa Rica, and now here in Guatemala. I feel like life is keep
Yeah,
giving us all these.
yeah. So many interesting places and ceremonies and yeah, sacred kind of journeys we've been very fortunate to be part. Yeah, especially starting with the time we did ayahuasca in Peru like 3 years ago. That resonates with me too. Like it was the probably the first like very profound kind of peek behind the veil that I had to. I remember I was crying for like 4 hours for like the whole session almost during the very first one. And then the second one was actually there was a very interesting situation where all of us, like us two and our other two best friends, we kind of all had the same theme,
Yeah,
the theme
true.
of death. And that by itself for me, like as an individual was very deep. I just saw for the first time how I was like kind of dancing between the two realms, like going back and forth, being somewhere in the middle of it, but never like stationary anymore, just fluctuating between living and existing. But then hearing that you and our other best friends had the same experience, that was like, wow, that was very interesting.
That was
So
pretty
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, I definitely feel like we've been kind of kickstarting the journey then. For me, as you're saying, it was a bit earlier just because I don't know, I had to deal with some anxiety and depression that was pretty hard and difficult because I didn't know where to ask for help and who to ask for help. And I felt lonely and alone in all of this for a few years. And then that was like the reason why I started to meditate, which then opened a lot of doors into this. But yeah, it was a very slow process. I just want to mention that I also was fortunate to have a girlfriend at the time, just before we did the ayahuasca ceremony that was into spirituality. So with us together, we dived deeper into it, and that helped me catalyze a lot of things and be here now, I guess. So thank you. You know who you are. But the other thing that I really liked the way you put it was that our time in Spain and this school living in 1 hour from Barcelona was the heart, the sacred heart of your mandala.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely resonates a lot. Like, I mean, I think in terms of eye-opening, probably Egypt has been the most eye-opening. I feel like that's when the whole eye of perception kind of expanded. But yeah, I think the heart center is probably a lot. That's
Yeah.
where,
Yeah, I remember because obviously I was there with you.
yeah,
And I even remember, I think probably the first day that this kind of started with our friend, Moses coming in.
mm,
And then there were a lot of kind of synchronicities happening, some plant medicine, some visions of snakes, and then which symbolized the whole Kundalini experience. Then
true.
we went to a Kundalini activation that same week just because he brought it up. And then you had that sort of like activation, right? And I feel like that was the big kind of starting point for you to start really diving deep into, I guess, the depths of spirituality.
True. Although that did come with a period of spiritual ego.
Yeah, I felt that too.
When we were sort of
Yeah.
competing, and but that was quite productive in the sense that I felt like it was needed. There was a lot of stuff that needed to come out
Right.
from that, and yeah, I feel like it was a perfect platform to be able to see like the inadequacies that It's like I was living and projecting and sort of like this requirement for external validation. And so that was how that manifested in the
Right.
outside world. And I felt like it was needed to be able to transcend those necessities and be able to open the door for self-love to come into. And I feel like only after I kind of like opened the eyes. And I remember when we had the conversations, and there was like very eye-opening of realizing, oh, actually, yeah, like the door has opened, but I'm not walking the path that I should be, or I'm not like showing up as the person that I should be showing up. And then I kind of like put it into a perspective when I realized like, oh, actually there's a lot of work to be done here. It's not like everything comes and you're just sliding down a rainbow all the way to enlightenment.
Right, right,
So
right,
yeah,
right.
it was that's what I'm saying. I think that's why I feel like it was the heart center, because that step was very important to realize that the only way to walk forward is with humility and reverence
Hmm.
and gratitude for the path, and not like, I don't know, with the I mean it's good to have the self, to sort of like see where you are and to appreciate what you've done, but not from an ego point of
Right.
view. So yeah.
Well, of course, but I feel like, going through my own journey
Yeah.
and then seeing you a bit from that angle. And don't get me wrong, I was right there with you, like in that sort of
Yeah.
competition energy. Like, I think it's a step that's unnecessarily needed, but it's there as part of the journey. So
Right.
probably most of the people that are stepping onto this journey are taking it. And the only way further is through, I believe, right? You cannot just skip it. Maybe if you're Buddha or Jesus or someone, but yeah,
Actually, since we're on the subject right now, and since it's the first episode, and we both kind of like agree that Calar has been the stepping stone, like
Calat is the place
yeah.
we say in Spain. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, like, like, how do you see your experience there? Like, what kind of change were you there? Like,
Mm.
how has your path changed in those 6 months that we spent there?
Lots to talk about. I remember, well, I remember many things. Let me see where to start. I know for sure that as soon as we got there, I kind of felt like very homey, like a very cozy
Mm.
place. It's being surrounded by very welcoming and loving people. And maybe because of that, or maybe that coincided with a time when I was ready to allow my inner child to just come out, although I don't really believe in coincidences, so it's a synchronicity there. So that was like the first step I took, allowing my inner child to come out, as I said, and allowing myself to make mistakes because I knew that those mistakes aren't coming from a bad place. They're just coming from maybe some inexperience, maybe some inadequacy, maybe some things, definitely some things that I needed to look at. So in me allowing that and continue to love myself, that was actually Kalat was one of the probably the first place was where I really started to love myself and to. I remember maybe 2 months in, we had a trip to London,
Mm.
and yeah, there was another very interesting journey. Although it was a techno party there, a lot of healing happened then. And I remember I got this sort of insight download of a meditation, which I call now the I love you meditation. I love myself meditation, actually, because for the first time I kind of hugged myself, like literally, and I started to see me in the past in all the situations where I made mistakes and I guilt tripped me and I blamed myself or maybe other people and I was in that sort of negative energy. So this time was this at this point I was ready to look at them from a different perspective and to just give myself love and forgiveness and compassion and empathy and move further. So that definitely was one of the major things that happened in Kalar or around that time. And then, as you're saying, like going back to our little competition, I feel like, yeah, in the sense of productivity, I guess it was good because I learned a lot. Like, I remember I discovered so many different things. I kind of stepped into some of the things I really liked maybe when I was younger, like my kind of passion for martial arts, which transformed into a practice of Tai Chi and then Qigong that I used to do every day when there. And then this other major thing which brings us to Egypt was, so I was reading a lot of books because I have this sort of, I don't know, maybe FOMO or something, or I am by design like that, supposed to read many books at the same time. And I think by chance I discovered a bunch of books that were kind of connected to each other and led our journey into Egypt. Like, and yeah, those books were really, really eye-opening, probably at the same level as ayahuasca, if not more in terms of what's out there. Yeah. So I remember a lot of being a lot fascinated by that. I think those are the three major ones. A lot of other learnings and experiences and mistakes and moments when I cried and laughed and just met myself. But yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah, I agree. Like there, like especially in that community and with the energy, and that made me realize like the power of the collective healing and the community and like the path, like the individual path is like for sure it's very powerful. But like in Kalad, I realized like how powerful it is when you're actually in a supportive community and the energy there, and it's sort of like it gives you permission to be yourself
Yeah.
and to open up. And like I know that like each one of us like feels that okay, when I'm in my private state or like I'm on my own, like I give myself permission. But I feel like personally I feel like in that community, in that loving space, like the permission was even like more stronger than what we would give ourselves like in our own privacy, or like when we do
Right.
our own things or our own meditation. So in that sense, yeah, I do feel like that was a perfect kind of like initiation into the like mysticism, like
Right.
into our whole journey of transcending judgment and learning how to love ourselves. And then like yeah, after that, those 6 months, I felt like Egypt was kind of like the gift from the universe of like
Yeah.
it was like you guys had 6 months of like deep shadow work, and now it's like to be able to see what's out there and see the world through this new developed perspective.
Yeah. I just
And
want to point that when you say deep shadow work was definitely not all sadness and
no,
it was a lot of fun, a lot
there's a
of
lot of
play.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember I laughed so much almost every night there.
true.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, from my own personal view, yeah, I think there's a lot of like these ideas nowadays of like this association with shadow work, with darkness or crying, or kind of like
Sure.
this idea of dark night of the soul. And I feel like for sure this is one way, but like you said, like I think shadow work is just making our subconscious conscious, and it's not necessarily that it has to go through like sword or flame. It's like the flame can also be like like a fun environment, or an environment where you are supported, or even if you cry, like there's people around you that just like there's a shoulder to cry and like someone to laugh with afterwards. So it was all like in that sense, it was
Yeah.
it was a very
Very
light period,
introspective time, right?
right?
And that could come in both planes, like light or dark,
True.
laughter or cry. Are they really different? Maybe not that much as you think.
True.
Yeah. Also, thanks for crediting me with that saying, but it's definitely not mine. Making the subconscious conscious. That's Carl Jung. But yeah, I do used to say it pretty often nowadays.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a bit about the past. So where does that bring us now? Like the present moment today, where do you feel you are today, and the version of yourself that you want to or are already stepping into?
Oh, that's a lot to unpack. But yeah, let me make just a quick summary of it. So, I mean, recently, like, as you know, like I just got out of a relationship that
Right.
even though it wasn't long, like time wise, I felt like it was probably the most intense, like feeling wise, and it felt this sort of integration or working with the animus and anima, like this person that otherwise I wouldn't find. Like we weren't compatible in many senses, but I felt like at our current step in both our spiritual journeys, we were like a perfect mirror
Yeah.
to to bring out the healing that was needed and the shadows that were needed from the other person. So that this time I felt like it was very, very intense and also opened a lot of doors mentally, psychologically, and spiritually. So now it's a little bit of like adjusting to the new reality, but in the sense that like I felt like it was for both of us, it was just a key to unlock the door for the next part of the journey. Like in that sense, it wasn't a conscious uncoupling where we both decided that it's best to move our separate ways. So I'm still in processing,
Yeah.
processing this and integrating everything that happened. And I feel like it, it showed me things where I feel like I wasn't showing up as my true self. And there have been some discrepancies between what my subconscious was feeling and what I was consciously kind of like driving towards. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of work for me to be doing, like moving onwards from here after integrating this liminal point between my subconscious and my conscious and sort of like bringing them a little bit, a little bit closer together and yeah, basically showing up better for myself and for everyone around. So this is pretty much what like I feel like I'm dealing with at the moment and in the next like stage.
Yeah.
And what about you? Like what are you dealing with at the moment here in Guatemala since we're here?
Right. We are in Guatemala now on the shore of Lake Atitlan, by the way, which is this very spiritual, hippie, but a definitely energy. Like there's a certain energy here which I really
Definitely.
like. So I feel like I can, step into the version that I want and I know I can be more, I would
Mm.
say. So the place and the people here is definitely helping.
Mm.
What am I dealing with?
That's just our friend Paula in the background.
Yeah. Let's see. I think my general kind of maybe sense or reality is coming from a place of inclarity.
Mm.
I say this just based on the fact that a lot of times I ask myself like, where am I going? Like not having that sort of clear picture of what's next and or what do I want to do and all of that. And that doesn't come from a lack of options, but from many options kind of interposing at the same time, and it's hard to choose.
Mm.
That's kind of one of the latest insights I had on that. Also, this period of time around Lionsgate has been pretty intense in terms of old patterns, old trauma, old stuff resurfacing for me in various ways in the last days, in the last weeks, which I thought is very interesting. And I actually made a video on this that I will post on Instagram probably today or tomorrow, but I'm talking about this idea that actually I'm proud of. Something I'm proud of is the fact that before, when this would happen, I used to get, more frustrated, maybe overwhelmed, pissed, and definitely probably falling into that sort of victim mentality. Like, why is this happening again? I thought I've healed it. I dealt with it 1,000 times already. Yet it's still here. Am I doomed? What's going on? Right? The sort of like, why me mentality. And now I simply had the chance to look at it from a different angle. I had maybe the capacity to do that now. And what I saw was an invitation to really see it, see this trauma, this old pattern of what is it and why is it coming about now. And it was almost like waving at me, saying, "Hey, do you see me?" And what I did now, which was different, was like I waved back and I say, "Yes, I see you." And then these 5 words came to me in these past days, like, "I see you, therefore I acknowledge you, I love you, therefore I keep my heart open to you, I'm okay with you being here, I thank you because I know you are in my life because I needed you at some point to, for you to keep me safe, to keep me alive maybe even. So I really thank you and I'm grateful for you being here. And then I let you be, stay around as much as you need. And then I let you go. For now, I know that you're not serving anymore." And yeah, what I realized this does is just eases the resistance and my relationship to the fear, the trauma itself, the trigger. So then from that point, you know, love can pour in and a different state of mind can pour in. And I'm not attached and I don't resist it anymore. So there's no tension. But yeah, and I think just going back to your question, I think these old patterns are coming up not to kind of haunt me, but to kind of show me where maybe I don't know I'm free yet, they're like a challenge or a test to say, "Hey, are you capable to let them go?" And the invitation for me is to show up and to say, "Actually, yes." Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was probably the biggest, like, I would talk for both of us. So I think it's like probably one of the biggest, not the biggest catalyst in our growth. This realization, like you say, that no matter what circumstance we go through or what happens to us, is like, it's a gift. It's like, it's not a challenge that we need to survive. It's like that saying that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, and then
Right.
ultimately it happens through you, as you. So yeah, like, it's it's hard sometimes. Like, there's ups and downs. Like, the road is not always smooth, but like, we know that we designed the road. It's like,
Right.
we made it because it brings us exactly where we need to go. So like, it's this complete trust and surrender in like, well, I'm going through this because this is where the gift comes from. This is where I'm getting my medicine from. And if I wouldn't go through this, I wouldn't be the person that like I'm supposed to be. I wouldn't get to my highest expression. And I think this realization, like, for us, kind of like shifted the whole game into like surrendering and embracing whatever comes, in the sense that this is where the medicine is coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Although for me, I would say that I think I knew this intellectually for quite a while now, but I feel like it's literally just dawned on me. Like I know it more in an embodied way only since recently when I kind of did a deep dive into Peter Kron's work and he's, like very, like he has such a style of very deeply pointing out exactly where your inadequacy is.
True.
And although he was talking to other people, not to me, I got the message. And yeah, that was eye opening and freeing at the same time. Beautiful, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely recommend that too.
Yeah.
Quite an impact.
Whew, yeah. Okay. Talked about the past. Talking about the present. Let's talk a bit about the future. Not that we can really predict the future. The only truth, I guess, is that we don't know, and the world in the future is uncertain. Another saying of Peter Kron. But where do you kind of want to go? Not really where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years, but where do you feel you are supposed to go to show up as your embodied true potential self?
Again, deep question. Well, yeah, I mean, lately been having this, I mean, having felt this calling to show up as being of service and somehow like repay back by helping people in some way and also helping myself. And since about few months ago, like I uh, made my first encounter with the mineral realm, and this has been a big catalyst as well in my spiritual evolution.
There was another thing that came up
In
during
Kalat,
Kalat.
yeah. So yeah, I think going forward, yeah, I would like to sort of dive deeper into this collaboration with the mineral realm and explore like some different avenues that have recently opened and ways of communicating with my soul. And as for showing up, I feel like, well, the more we heal our wounded masculine from the society where we've been growing up in East Europe, I feel like the more we realize that like what is required of us is just to provide a structure, to hold still, to hold a space for people, to just be a possibility, to show what is possible, and then let others bring the medicine from them, like sort of be a mirror, a reflection that people can look into and they can see in themselves. So yeah, for me, this is probably the path moving forward, like just healing these wounds and being more strong and more confident and being able to trust in my intuition, and yeah, just being a field of what is possible.
Right. So providing that container for, dare I say, the feminine energy to flourish,
Yeah,
right? That exists both in the men and females and women. That sort of energy that's very connected to the mystery, to the unknown, with the
right,
unknown of someone's own potential coming up
right.
for themselves. Yeah, that's big, beautiful.
What about you? Well,
We're not talking about me here. Well, before I get into me, I would like to dive deeper a bit into the crystals realm, into the minerals realm with you,
okay.
because well, I do feel like that's your calling or that's something you're really into, and you have your own unique way to be into that. If that sounds clear,
Right.
and I'm saying this because just looking at me, like I've also had crystals for a long time, maybe even since before I did we started with the ayahuasca, and yes, I did feel a certain connection to them, and also at the same time a reverence for them, and I always kind of saw them as magical things that could help us along the way. But I've definitely seen you taking it much further than that, and having sort of the capacity or maybe the intuition to go there, you know, almost being guided by some mysterious, maybe feminine energy, who knows? So, I'm saying that because I see you as having a gift towards that world. So, yeah, I'm very curious. How do you see yourself connected to that, and what can you tell us about the mineral realm?
Well, this is also a very deep subject and long conversation and probably like a podcast in itself about it. But like just to summarize
Episode 21.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm still just obviously scratching the surface of what is possible. But yeah, every day it's uncovering more and more layers and going deeper, and we're building this relationship. For me, like all the crystals that are right now in my possession, I see them as my own, like my team of spiritual guides. So it's a relationship of collaboration. The way I see them, they're beings high consciousness beings. They're basically energetic catalysts, if I can put it like that. That just help us lower the amount of energy required to reach our highest potential. So in that sense, they're gateways to our higher potential. So the healing,
to lower the amount of energy required to reach our highest potential.
yeah.
What do you mean? Like without them, we would have to spend a lot of effort and energy to get there, or what do you mean?
I'm not sure like how like familiar you are with the scientific or like how it works basically, but
Well, somewhat, but let's make it super simple so everyone can be on the same page.
So yeah, so basically the medicine and the healing and the power to change our reality is inside of us. Like each and every one of us has the power to create our own realities. Each and
Right.
every one of us is connected. We have our soul, which is our tether to the divine creator. And what minerals do, like in the same way as for other people, plant medicine or other avenues,
Yeah.
is there are gateways that like help you look into yourself and are able to bring that to the surface, your own power, your own connection, your own potential.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was saying they're energy catalysts. And even scientifically, like the way it works, the crystals work through the process of entrainment, which means then when two fields of different frequencies are together, the field with the higher frequency will always bring the field with the lower frequency to the same level.
I've heard of that, and that's always sounded magical and amazing to me.
So even just like having crystals around you will always impact your energy field. But then, taking it a step forward is like they are universes basically. Like each and every mineral, it's a universe in itself. So then by going into that universe, by opening up and inviting that higher consciousness to work together with you, this is the collaboration. It's like it helps you unlock your highest potential. So it's not like the crystal will do something for you, will get you a job or a new relationship or put you on a different path. No, but what it will do, it will help you elevate your frequency, it will help you see things in a different perspective, it will help you open the door to yourself, so then all that potential that is within you, you can bring it forward and work with it.
I love that. So if you put two people in the same room with the same crystals and have them do the same practice for a number of days, they could get totally different results.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. For sure. It's also about this idea of like, because this is similar to plant medicine and any other sort of working with higher consciousness or with the spirit realm. It's a relationship. You build a relationship, and the more you build this relationship, the more they open up to you. And it's the same as with people. Like, you need to have a certain relationship before you can dive deeper together. So that's why I feel like, like each and every relationship is unique. So each and every one works uniquely in that sense.
I love that. And I have a question because this is more of a personal question that just showed up. So I want to see your opinion on that and a bit of context. I feel like this is a limiting belief that I have, but I've always, in any sort of, let's say, spiritual endeavor I would take, any sort of different practice I would go, maybe out of too much, I don't know, modesty or like up to the point of being unhealthy, thought that if, say with the crystals, for example, if I'm spending time with them every day, I would ask too much of them. So they would at some point get upset with me, angry with me, like, oh, this guy still comes back, like I don't have time for you in that sense. And even me saying this sounds pretty ridiculous, and I believe I can trace it back to my childhood. Maybe, not to get too much into that in the first episode, but yeah, what do you think about that sort of thing?
Well, I'll reply with I heard this quote a couple of days ago. I don't actually remember what I was reading, but this quote stuck with me, and it said something like, the whole kingdom of heaven is there waiting to help us, and it's just one invitation away. So, like, all the, yeah, all the higher consciousness beings, angels, spirit guides, crystals, plants, everything, like, are there to help us reach our highest potential. All we need to do is just invite their magic in, and that's it. It's not like there's too much, or
Right.
like, we don't have to ask, to be honest. I mean, everyone has their own approach, but like, for me, what works is I don't have to ask for things. It's more like an invitation, or like giving it permission. Like, I give you permission to sort of come into my space, into my field, and it's an invitation to work together. And I feel like it works every time.
Is it, when you're saying this, when you're giving them permission, is it true that you kind of see yourself at the same level as them?
I think it's more, I mean, obviously, there's probably people more qualified to answer this, but I think it's about the free will. It's like, when working with spirits or with consciousness or with angels or any other higher beings, it's like they cannot interfere with the free will.
Right.
So there is that, hence where the invitation or the permission comes, because otherwise you're inferring someone else's free will.
Right.
But when you give someone permission, same as in a ceremony or a healing, when you open up and you're like, I allow you to come into my space, work with me, to fill me with your energy, with your light, then it's sort of like, okay, like, I've already given permission, so there's no infringement of free will.
Right. That's why a bit, both in the sort of darker sense, but in the light sense, like, you need to invite them in, to give them permission in order for them to affect you in any way, good or bad. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think there's never like too much. At the moment, like, as long as you know that everything that comes from inside of you, and you're not like asking a third party for things that you want or for something that you want, and you know that all they do is just helping you walk that path. But in the end, it's still you doing the job. It's still you walking. It's still you getting. So in that sense, they're helping you, but it's you doing the work.
Right.
That's why I don't feel like it's too much of like, like, it's too much if we talk all day long because I'm bothering you.
I don't know where it definitely sounds ridiculous. I don't know where I got this sort of notion from, but it definitely sounds like a kind of like trauma bond or very linear 3D world kind of mentality, right?
No, it's good to bring it out.
For sure.
For sure.
That's why I actually did it. Okay, thank you for that answer. Now I can go back into talking about me a bit. To answer your question, where do I see myself going next as the more, I guess, the better, not the better, but the version of myself where I step into my full potential? What I would say, definitely one of them is this, maybe the podcast, showing up a bit of my own journey, sharing it with the world as much as possible, even if just one person benefits from it. I think it's still enough, still good enough. There's no reason to I don't know, to want to save the whole world. I mean, there is a reason there, but there's no reason to think that you need to save the whole world before you can be beneficial to the world, before you can be of service to the world.
There's no rush.
There's no rush, yeah. So yeah, I also want to step into a more stronger version of myself, not only physically, but a balanced version where I'm physically, body, mind, and soul. So connected to the spirit, having discernment, the mind, and then having the physical strength to withstand whatever I need to withstand in order to share my true gifts with the world, in order to, to show up as my full potential self and do and be, maybe even more than do, be who I am meant to be, who I am to be here. Yeah. That's a very general answer, but
No, I like
yeah.
it.
Yeah. And every day I feel like I get a chance to look, the universe serves me with the opportunities in the form of triggers to look at these old limiting beliefs that are not serving me anymore, and the opportunities to see them for what they are and let them go. And then in that sort of letting go, I release more and more tension. I soften, and eventually, soften into a more unique, beautiful, authentic version of myself. Yeah,
Mm.
that's the plan.
That sounds beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for the question again. I think we had quite an interesting conversation already here. We went pretty deep into the mineral realm, which I like, and into some other topics. So, as we are wrapping up, I would like to invite you to share a piece of knowledge or wisdom that you've accumulated throughout your own journey that you think it's of service or of benefit to, well, someone who's listening.
Right.
And to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many, like every day I feel like the universe is giving an opportunity for new lessons, but I'll, I'll share like, just before this podcast, we had a little cacao
Oh yeah,
ceremony, and I
we
was,
open the hearts for the
we opened the
podcast.
heart, and I was holding this, watermelon tourmaline that's very dear to me. And you asked me what guidance does it have for us today?
Right.
And like I really like, even though it's simple, but I think like the simple things are very impactful. So I'll share that. And like what he was saying is this this idea to check in with us, check in with ourselves daily, to don't take things for granted, in the sense that, because like, so the context was about self-love, that all the love is rooted in self-love. And
Yeah.
to be able to love someone, we first need to work on loving ourselves. So I feel like a lot of the times we feel like, yes, I love myself, I'm ready to face the world, whatever. But like, I think it's very important, and this was the message that I got. It's important to take these little steps and these daily practices to check in with yourself, to ask the right questions, to see how you're feeling. They're like simple, like, how am I feeling today? Like, what do I want to do today? What does my soul desire today? Like, how do I want to show up today for myself firstly and for the world as well? And this can be in any shape or form, just simple questions and answers in our mind. It can be through journaling, it can be anything. But I feel like asking ourselves this question, checking in with us and not waiting for the world to check in with us, for other people to ask us or to sort of drop the ball in our court, how they say, and just us to take this initiative and see how we're feeling, how we're doing, and where do we need to love ourselves more every day? And I think there's like small steps that we can do are gonna be of great impact in the long run. So yeah, I think this is the thing that stuck with me today.
Yeah, this resonates a lot with me. As I'm starting a new phase in my own journey, I feel, where I'm literally just sitting in bed for longer times in the morning and at night before going to bed and after waking up, to just listen to my body and to my inner truth, kind of going back into my own journey, into my own kind of connection to myself and to the divine before I listen to anybody else or anything else on the outside, which of course could be very good and beneficial. But if I don't have that connection first with myself, then I do feel like I'm a bit lost. And I felt like that for a long time. And I think I'm ready to step out of that.
Nice.
Thank you for this reminder.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. Amazing.
Awesome. Woo! Thank you everyone for tuning in. I don't know how to end this, so I'll just end it like that. Bam, bam.
Thanks,
you, Andrei.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Ciao. Once again, I thank you for tuning in and being here with us for this first ever episode of Life is Good podcast. I hope you got to learn some interesting things today. I hope you got to share space with us and feel the energy. And if there were any issues with the sound or the clarity of our voice, as I said in the beginning, this was a mic check as well. So please don't hesitate to contact me at the link in the description of the episode. I'm always looking to learn and to grow, so any feedback is more than welcome. And I am super honored to do this, and I'm looking forward to be here with you in the next episodes. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.